Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I am 58 years old. Some days I feel like I'm 17, and some days I feel like I'm 105. But I can tell you the secret to a long life is to wake up every day with meaning and purpose and passion. A couple of people who know about that, Linda Kaye and her mom, Lorraine Snider-Hanley. Thank you for coming on the show.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Well, the reason I invited you on the show is, one, it's a love affair between a mother and a daughter, and two, it's a story of it's never too late, because you wrote a book, Lorraine, when you were how old?
Oh, just 90.
All right, I want to hear this story. How did the book come about?
Oh, it's a good story. Let me tell it. So I was talking to Mom, and I said, Mom, you know, you're kind of getting up there in years, and it might be time for us to just capture your legacy. And she says, how do we do that? And I said, in a book. She goes, oh, no, honey, that'll just take too long. And I just said, no, Mom, my mentor, Craig Duswalt, said I can do it in 30 days. And about a year and 2 months later, we had a book.
Wow.
So I wrote a chapter at a time just because I didn't know how to write a book, and I didn't know really how much would Mom remember because Mom's blind. So understanding that and knowing that everything that she was going to tell me would be through what she could recall. I would have to go back and write a story a chapter at a time. So that's what I did. I wrote a chapter at a time. And I'm amazed at how much she could remember. I'm amazed at how much she remembered about her own family coming from Ukraine, how much the family meant to her and what she built and what the family was able to do as immigrants, and then literally coming to California, just pick up stakes and move on. So the story is one chapter after another, but it's really to bring promise and hope and belief in something that's greater than us, something that's greater than us as an individual or collectively, but having that belief system, and that's how we were raised, is how she's lived her life, her entire life, unwavering faith. And that's what the chapter or the book reveals chapter after chapter.
And we're going to talk about Ukraine in a minute. I want, Lorraine, for you to tell us the name of the book, Miracles on My Doorstep, Immigrating to America, Faith Finds Freedom. Tell us the genesis of the title.
Well, the genesis of the title, Linda and I were talking one day, and we were just talking about things that happened in our life. And I said, you know, I could write a book about the miracles in my life. Just the fact that I'm in America is a true miracle in itself. So we go back to my grandfather and my father, and they came across probably on a boat. And I understand from my father and my grandfather that the trip was horrible. It was at a time when they were running from the fear of the government, running and hoping that they would find a place in America with very little money. And of course, at that time, the social services weren't what they are today. I believe that immigration is easier, maybe in a sense today, because people have a little bit more help. But I think immigration and migration are hard any way you look at it, from way back when or even now. So going back to my parents, my dad always referred to the tyranny that he was always under, the stress and the strain of living under the thumb of the government, the thumb of the czar at the time, and the massacres that were going on when they left. gave them hope to go to a country where there would be freedom. And the time that they put in for working would be their time. They could keep whatever they had. It wasn't the government's. So I truly believe, in looking back, one of the main reasons that they came is religious persecution. It was horrible. They couldn't worship the way they would like to. They couldn't worship openly. If they did have any kind of meetings at all, they were quite covert. And looking back at my parents today, I treasure the moments I have openly with Christ. I stand strong in the Word of God and the gift that we have, eternal life through Jesus Christ.
Wow. Hey, Linda, I want you to weigh in on the bond that you have with your mom and how it grew during the process of writing this book.
That's a great question. I will tell you that, as I started to ask her questions and what did this mean and how did that mean? How did you feel? Questions like, I come from a large family, Jeff, so there are 9 of us. I even comment on the back cover that she endured 81 months of pregnancy and that she knows a thing or two about early childhood development. And I said, was there ever a time that you felt embarrassed about having so many kids? And she said the only time that occurred was when other people, like at stores or something, would say, don't you know anything about birth control? Things that she revealed things in a way that I could never have known. My mom wouldn't have volunteered these kinds of questions, but these things kind of came up naturally as I started to interview her in the book. And I have been close with my mom for many years. I've known her all my life, right? But I became to know her in a way that I think is really envious for a mother and daughter relationship. I really got to know who she was as a person, what things meant to her as a young woman, what her hopes and her dreams would be, the relationship that she had with my dad, the love affair that she had with him, the things that bothered her with, raising her children. These things I don't think you would know naturally without having written a book about this. And I think in many ways, Jeff, this is one of the best gifts I could have ever received.
Wow. Lorraine, I'd like you to weigh in on this as well. For other children who want to grow closer to their mom or dad, is this a great way to bond with your parents?
I believe it is. I recall asking my mother questions, and so many of her answers were, I don't want to talk about it. And at the time that I wanted more information from her, she was quite secretive. She was afraid that at some point she always had a fear that her backcountry people would maybe condemn her for saying what she would say. But
I think she was afraid that they'd come and get her and make her go back.
Yes, I think they were.
I remember one instance when I was asking her questions. I went with you to Arizona, and I brought, the equivalent of a boom box, back in the day. And I recorded, and she was like, you have to turn that off, and I can answer questions. And when I turned it off, she went actually to the machine. Now it was on, I had it plugged in, but I unplugged it and then left it running because it was on batteries. And she went over to make sure that was unplugged from the wall. And she was really afraid of revealing too much. And I think that speaks volumes of the families that came. When I asked her, Grandma, why didn't you teach Mom how to speak Ukrainian? And Mom did speak that early on, but after some time, Grandma refused to let her speak Ukrainian. But she said, when you come to America, you speak English.
That's right.
Well, let's talk about the strength of the Ukrainian people, because they are really showing a lot of guts right now, including their leader, who's out there not hiding inside the castle, if you will. He's out there on the street wearing army gear. How proud are you of the Ukrainian people?
Oh, I'm very proud of them. I think they're strong of mind, strong of heart, but they stand together as a body together. There's not a lot of jealousy, a lot of upper class people or lower class people. They work together. They're people of the soil. They work hard. They're extremely hard workers. They work independently well. They work together well. Very, very proud of these people. I asked Linda, I said, would you stand out there with a gun today? And she said, didn't know if she could or not. I said, oh, yes, you could. When it comes to protecting your country and your people, you stand for where people have to stand for something together, or you don't stand for anything.
She says often, stand for something or you fall for anything.
That's right.
Yes. Well, Linda, you must be proud of your roots. You come from just this very courageous, very tough, mentally and physically tough people. How has that played out in your life? You're a very successful entrepreneur.
Thank you. I remember as a child or as a teenager, I remember an event happening where literally we had just been out on a Saturday evening with the Youth for Christ group, and afterwards we went out to a Jack in the Box, and it was just a local Jack in the Box, but out of nowhere came hundreds, and I do mean hundreds of men with clubs and sticks, and I'd never seen anything like this. And we, of course, managed through this and got out of there, and the police came, and I was really upset, very, very upset. And, my mom, of course, came, and Dad came. And when my mom got there, I'm blubbering like, I can't find my brother Sam. She's like, oh, shut up, stand up and be strong. And it was like in that moment, where you could literally be falling apart, you're being reminded that you're made of good stock. That has served me well, Jeff. It has served me well as an entrepreneur, because it's not easy being an entrepreneur, as you know. It requires a lot of your time and your effort, and if something doesn't work, then you keep working at it until it does.
Absolutely. Well, Lorraine, I want you to give us some secrets to a long and happy life, because I think all of us aspire to be you. Very
easy. Get up early, go to bed late, and in the middle work very hard. No, I'm joking.
I'm like, what? You go to bed at 8:30.
Well, you guys are 2 hours earlier, and at the beginning of this interview, right before we went on, I said to Linda, well, maybe this gave you guys a chance to have another cup of coffee, and you said, no, we got to limit my mom on the coffee.
That's right, because we can't keep up with her energy otherwise.
So I think watching my family grow, we had kind of a tough structure here, a real tight structure, I should say. If I got up, everyone else got up. So there were no people sleeping in. Everyone sat down at the breakfast table together, dinner table and lunch table. I think that teaching children how to work early in life, and I don't mean go out in the fields, I'm talking about take responsibility of yourself, take responsibility for yourself. I mean, you're someone else. Working together as a family, as a unit, they had to go out and work early with the boys with their dad quite early. Their dad was a plaster and stucco contractor, so they learned a trade real early. Linda learned music real early. Teaching them, keeping them busy, keeping myself busy. Walking with the Lord is probably my biggest help that I have. Without Christ in my life, I would not be here. I can't do anything on my own.
Wow.
I am.
Well, it just occurred to me, you've got a lot of birthdays to keep up with. How many children, grandchildren, and are there any great-grandchildren?
Well,
oh yeah, there are.
Believe it or not, there's 3 months that we do skip. We skip September, we skip October, and we skip December. So some, like May, has about 3 birthdays in it. And then the rest of them have a birthday once, and there's a birthday every month from there on.
And then all the grandchildren, how many have you got?
Oh, 15 is all.
And then great-grandchildren?
Great-grandchildren, how many?
15.
No, great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren, I believe there were 12.
Wow, it's hard to keep up. I don't blame you if you can't remember all of them. I won't ask you to name their names. Well, Linda, let's give you the final word, Linda. What would you like to leave the audience with?
I want to say that, you know, especially for my mom, who likes to remind me that I may have lost my sight, but I have not lost my vision. And that's really the most important message I could leave with you. Vision is important.
Absolutely. And how do people get your book?
They can go to miraclesonmydoorstep.com. They can order they can download it, or they can order a book.
Outstanding. So, well, you've both been amazing guests. We'll have to have you back on soon. And thank you and congratulations.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.